All right, 2011 Ford F-150 5 liter. This is the 6-speed 6R80. And what was going on with this was I had a P0731 gear ratio error in first. Seemed like it was slipping on the pull away. And then what would happen is the computer would actually inhibit first gear and give it second gear starts and let it shift up. But that's the only code that I had, and I did actually find a TSB on this to tell me that these do leak out of the front. I believe it's this O-ring here, the smaller one where the pump body and gears are located. That O-ring may have an issue and tend to leak. All right, now this is very similar. This is actually the first one I'll be tearing down. So I got my Tech Train manual from TransStar, and I was reading it over last night. It's pretty similar to a 6HP26. There are differences, but it's pretty similar. So I got that going for me. Another common issue is with this sleeve, like the 6HP26, it likes to leak. And this actually is how you check it. You gotta fill this from the bottom, and this is your dipstick right here. Actually, while I have this out, I'm gonna leave it out. So that's the dipstick, so we'll leave that out. So, really not much else on the outside. So I'll get a little closer and we'll start tearing this thing down. This is a back section here. This is a 4x4 version. All right, so let me get a little closer here and we'll start tearing it down. All right, so before we get into tearing down this trans, I reread that TSB, and I had thought they had pointed to specifically the pump O-ring on this 6R80, but actually rereading it, what they want you to do is they want you to change pretty much the pump body, which houses the front seal and the pump O-ring. But the problem actually is the front seal. Once I got this thing apart, and remember the video that I did on the Ford front seal, what seals to stay away from, and this actually has the same problem. This seal, compared to this new seal, is completely peeled back, and that's where it was leaking from. It was not leaking out of the pump O-ring. Now, these seals are black rubber. I'm not really sure if you'll be able to see this, but I'm gonna try to hold this thing up. If you can see the difference here. Okay, this one here is completely peeled back, and this one is the new seal. Right, I can see the spring, and this one I can't see anything, but this is, I mean, this is really bad. So, I don't know if you can kind of see this here. This might be a little dark. This is the new one here, and this is the original one. But the problem actually is the front seal. So, again, the TSB tells you to change the pump body, but I mean, if you're gonna overhaul one of these, you get an overhaul kit, you put a new pump O-ring in, a new front seal, and you're good to go. All right, so I just wanted to let you know about that, because again, I thought that they were concentrating on the pump O-ring, but that's not the case. So, all right, so now we're going to get into tearing this unit down. All right, so first thing we'll do, I guess, is take the pan off. I actually had the pan off for two reasons: to let it drain, and the second one is there's different filters. And this is kind of like an emergency job. So I had to see what filter I had, make sure I get the right one, and make sure my supplier had it. Alright, so here is the pan. Pan is fairly clean. Alright, being the fact that this is a 2011, there are different filters, so pretty much what you got to do is measure the length of the pickup tube and the width of the pickup tube. I'm not sure if prior to 2011 there's only one filter, but my supply told me since it's an 11, you got to tell me which filter you have. Okay, so very similar, as I said, to the 6HP26. All right, so the first thing you got to do in order to get this valve body off, this side connector has to come out. So we got to lift up on this white tab, and this connector should come out. I have to give it a little help. Okay, here is that connector. Actually, we can wash that up too. Okay, now we're going to take the, I think there's maybe 11 valve body bolts that hold the valve body down against the case. Now they're all, unlike the 6HP26 where the valve body bolts may have been a T27 and the hold down bolts were, I think, possibly like a T40. They're all 30, Torx 30, but the head of the bolt is much larger than the bolts that hold the valve body halves together. Okay, so let's take those out. And I believe when I was reading last night, like I said, there were about 11 of them. Okay. I got 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see if I can find these here. Okay. Alright, so here is your valve body. The only difference is this doesn't have the computer in it like the 6HP26s. But we'll go over that. Okay, so now let me just, you know what, I want to just switch angles and give you a close-up before I take anything else out of this case. Let me just switch angles and get right inside the case here. All right, so on this case here, we're going to take this seal out. They call this the bridge seal in between the valve body and the pump. And just like the 26s, you know, these things may tend to crack. So if you, I would recommend to change this whole piece. And here also is a thermal element that in case you drop the valve body and it falls out, it goes in just like that. This will face up, spring will go in first. All right, now, I don't know if you can see this piece down here. This has a low diode, and because this is a 2011 in the ATSG Tech-Tran manual, they call this a biased spring. So we're gonna lift that spring out and hopefully not lose it. It goes in between, I guess, two of the lugs for the low diode. Maybe it's like an anti-rattle clip. All right, so it's coming. I just don't want to lose it, so I want to be very, very careful. All right, so it has a little piece under here. I guess it's gets scooped under, and then you push the spring in. So that's what this looks like, and I believe, like they said, 2011 and up. All right, so now let me just get you guys back. All right, and these are the sleeves for the clutches. So these will actually come right out, and these may be different lengths. Let's see if we can loosen these up. We can just take these out. I guess there's only 3 in this one, nothing in that one. All right, so we got different lengths here, and this one's even blue. You know, some of these are even color coded. So we'll put these aside. These come in the kit. All right, so I'm just gonna move you guys back again, and we're gonna pull the pump out and the inner workings. So I'll be right back once again. Okay, so just real quick, we got the, after taking the valve body off, we took the bridge seal off, we had the thermal element, the bias spring for the low diode, and we took the clutch feed tubes out. And I just looked it up real quick for the identification. And we have the direct clutch feed, the low reverse clutch feed. These where the tubes were, and the intermediate clutch feed. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to take all the outer bolts out and pull the pump out. Okay. Just to let you know, the solenoids on this unit are not the same, though this unit, it looks very, very similar to the 6HP26. The solenoids are not the same. They are different. And I guess we're going to get a little bit of a bigger screwdriver. Let me just get that. The 6HP26s, they come right out. Maybe if I do it evenly, let's see what happens. Okay, there we go. All right, so the pump. We have the bushing here. That is the Babbitt one, so I'm going to change that. And you have a selective spacer here, but we're going to leave that right now. Now this whole thing is probably going to come out as one. Okay, which it did, and we're going to just set this aside now for disassembly after we get this thing apart. I believe this may be the direct clutch drum. Okay, now we have a big snap ring. Just like the other one, we got to try to get that out. And in reading the ATSG book, it says that the snap ring either faces the 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock position, because that's where there's an opening, I guess, to get a pry bar back there to pop this thing out. All right, just had to put you guys on hold for a minute because I just wanted to evaluate this thick snap ring. And what I think I'm going to do is try to get under it. Looks like it's really, really heavy. I'll try to get under it with this and twist it just to get it started. And then, let me see what I can do here. Get this stuff ready. All right, so I got under it. And I'm twisting it. All right, can't get under there yet. Okay, that's better. Now let's try it. It's coming slow. Not that easy to get out, but it's doable. Okay. All right, a hell of a snap ring. It is beveled on one side and flat on the other side, so the bevel is going to face up. And the ends opening has to either face at the 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock position where there is an opening to get under there to get this out. Okay, now let's see how easy this will come out. Right here is the center support. All right, now that low diode. Okay. All right, now we're going to take the low diode out. It should just come right out. And this part here has to face where that spring goes. So this is going to face, you know, up when I put this back to where that spring goes. And this seems okay. All right, now we're gonna get the planet set out. And there's another set of clutches there. Okay, and looks like the sun gears came out. Now we got a couple of sun gears here. I'm gonna just put these aside. These clutches look all right. Right now, and here's the output shaft of the trains. And I'm going to knock that. There's a rear seal back there. You got a bearing here. Oh, I can't get it out, but there's a bearing here. Let me just knock that rear seal out of the trans. And I think this case will be stripped. Let's see if this will come right out like this. Okay, here's the rear seal. I just kind of got under there and popped it out. Okay, this case is stripped. All right, so let me get rid of the oil. Let me get set up, and we'll pretty much open up the clutch drums. We'll look at the clutches. And we'll look at the valve body, and I guess we'll start cleaning this thing up. So I will be back in a few. All right, so we'll start with the front half of the unit. And in here is going to be the overdrive and the forward clutch, or the A and the E clutch. Now this has, just like a 6HP26, it has a lock. We got to take the snap ring off to take this hub out. And what I normally do is I start, you know, maybe a quarter of the way down, just starting to work the snap ring out. You know, pick it out, don't force it, and by the time you get to the end here, it usually pops right out. Instead of trying to start it right at the end because it has a lock on it. Okay, so that's out. Okay, here is, if you can see this, these are the snap ring, you know, sits in between this little dimple, and here are the locks right here. The opening of the snap ring will sit on each one of these. All right, so we're going to take the hub off. This is for the A clutch. You know, you have a bearing on the hub. The bearing actually goes right here. Here is the E, or the overdrive clutch hub. Okay, pretty thick here. You got a bearing here also, and a bearing here as well. Okay, now we should be able to lift this right off. Okay, another bearing. This plastic washer I'm just going to actually leave alone. Really don't want to break that. I know on they're very fragile on the ZF 6HP26s, and also they're very expensive on the 6HP26s. So something like this, I'm just going to leave alone. All right, so let's check this A clutch because it did have a 731 code. Let's see how these are. These actually are a little singed, not bad, but I'm going to change them. This particular guy does a lot of driving, he said. All right, now, let's see if we can separate this planet. I've never done one on one of these, but the 26s either comes right out or sometimes it's a little bit of a pain. All right, here's my screwdriver that I use. Now let's see how easy these come out. You got to push the actual snap ring in. Alright, well that was fairly easy. Alright, so we have the planet, we have a bearing and the sun gear. And I just got to find out what happened to the, here it is, okay. So here is the clip that sits in here. Let me just put this back in. Okay. And the clip sits in here, and then it anchors in going through these 4 slots. So to get this thing out, you got to look to where it is, you know, through the gears, and you just got to push the snap ring out. And once you get the end up, just kind of hold it up. Don't let it drop back down again. And these are the slots where the anchor, where the snap ring is held in. Now, we're going to separate this drum because we're going to do new O-rings on the piston. And when you take this off, you can't just take this off and put it on any old way because this part where these sit is separate from where the snap ring is going to sit. So everything has to line up. So what I'm going to do is make a scratch mark, you know, make a scratch mark one here and one here so this goes back the same way. And then when I'm ready to put this together, you can pop it right in. Alright, so that's the A clutch. Now let's check the overdrive or the E clutch. This guy tells me he goes back and forth to Canada a lot. And these actually are like new. These E clutches, I find, tend to wear down. So I think since it's here for the overhaul, I don't want to have any, you know, nobody likes any issues. I'm going to change the E clutches as well. Okay, this. Alright, so that'll move this over. Okay, next we have the direct clutch, or in ZF terms, I think this would be the B clutch. Okay, this looks pretty good. Looks like it's getting, you know, for my first one, looks like it's going to be a nice unit to do. Okay, this is the C clutch, or the intermediate. There we go. Okay, very nice. And here you have a bearing. That goes right on here. And this is the piston for the D or the low reverse, where these would go along with the diode. Okay, so those are the clutches. Now, let's get the pump here. And what we're going to do, just over here, we're going to pull the pump body and gears out, so we're going to take out these outer, the ones right in the middle. The ones all the way inside we're going to leave, and these we're going to leave. So we'll just take the outers. But I'm probably going to be shocking these things loose, because I don't want to strip anything out. So these are a 30. All right, so let me just get set up for that. And they are 30. And I'll be back in a second. Okay. So I'm going to shock these things loose. So I got some tension on this thing. Give it a shot. And that comes loose. Okay. Alright, got about 3 more to go. Last one. Yes. Okay. So now we'll get these out. And we're going to put 2 back in to bang the body, pump body and gears down on each side. So let's make sure they're all loose here. Okay. Take these out. Couple of turns back in. Okay, here is your stator. And once again, you don't want to forget about this selective spacer here. Don't want to lose that. Okay, here's the body and gears, and they're saying that this O-ring is the problem one, and that's the one that normally leaks. This feels like it's got plenty of, there's a big bump here, whereas there's not so much here. Okay, so as far as the pump gears go, you probably won't be able to see this, but we got a dot here and we got a dot here. And those dots are going to face up. So we've got to remember that. Put that back. Okay, the bushing looks good. Let's see how easy this thing goes on. Now, it does have some drag on it. Does have some drag on it. And it actually came off fairly easy just by twisting it. So this probably was the, because this looked like it was leaking out of the front, so this probably was the leak. And here is that spacer again. Okay, so about done here. I want to just get the valve body up because something didn't make sense to me, but now it does. Remember I took those 3 feed pipes out, clutch feed pipes, and normally there's 4, but I thought it was odd that there were 3. But when I look at the valve body, the 4th one is stuck on there. So here it is right here. I don't want to lay it on this clip here. So here is the 4th feed tube. And I was saying to myself, the research I was doing last night, there's normally 4 of them, and this one only had 3. Okay, it was actually just stuck to the valve body. So now we have actually 3 different sizes. Those are the feed, and they're color coded too, but I mean you really can't make a mistake there because of the different sizes. All right, and as far as this valve body goes, here is your range switch, because your manual valve is hooked up here. Here's your sensors. And of course your solenoids are not the same as the 6HP26, but you want to be very careful because they change through the years. There may even be a band number or a part number on the solenoid to help you identify getting the correct one. And the research that I've done, and I was talking to the technical director at TransStar, and he had said he hasn't really seen in the past many issues with these solenoids. I think my issue with this unit was a lot of the fluid leaked out. It did singe the A clutch. The guy doesn't want to take any chances. He knows what's going on because he does a lot of driving. It's an 2011 with 105,000 miles on it. So he says just do the whole thing. And that's what we're going to do. Let me just turn my light back on. Okay, so I guess that's really about it for this 11 Ford 6R80 that came in with a P0731 code. And if you ever do work on one of these, there is a Teardown manual available. It's a pretty simple unit to do. If you're familiar with the 6HP26s, then you can definitely do this. There are some differences, but for the most part it's the same. Looks like a fairly nice unit to rebuild. Alright, so I guess that's about it for this Ford. Once again, I thank everybody for watching, and you guys have a great day.